Welcome to Tuttle Talk on 1190 AM. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Andy Tuttle.
Good morning and welcome to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we teach you what the rich and the banks do, not what they tell you to do, and where we dispel the misconceptions of financial wellness in the local real estate market and show you how following some basic principles really can free you up to focus on the other important areas of your life, like your friends, your family, and the community. It's the most important hour of radio every Saturday, right here on Clear Channel 1190 AM KFXR in the great state of Texas. Fantastic state that we live in. Very lucky to be here. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. Thank you so much for joining me. You can reach out to me during or after the show at my off-air number, confidential hotline, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. You can also email me at questions@andytuttle.com, and you can become a fan of the show. We love that. Get into the conversation. We're posting all kinds of financial, estate planning, wealth creation tips, local market updates on the fan page at facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. So we'd love to see you there. Also, if you want to find out more information about us, get the mobile app and things like that, you can text Tuttle, that's T as in Texas, UTTLE, to the number 72727. That's text Tuttle to 72727 to find out more about the show. We got a great show for you today, by the way. A really good show. It's a really good show today. That's my worst Johnny Carson. I did that for you, Gabe.
That was Johnny Carson?
Yeah, that was Johnny Carson.
Wow.
Or Ed Sullivan.
It was bad.
It was like Johnny Sullivan. But we have, I don't know. That's what we were doing.
Good.
But we have an entrepreneur. He is an absolute expert in estate planning and many other areas of law. Matt Aycock is here of Pratt, Aycock Associates, PLLC. And he's going to talk to you about a few key mistakes that most people make, and it can have a drastic generational effect on your family. And also, if you're investors, pay attention, because he's going to tell you if you're really protecting your houses in the right way. Are your rent houses protected? Gabe, are your rent houses protected?
We're going to get into that here. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you should be. So I've done the due diligence for you guys. I've done the BBB research. I've vetted multiple attorneys for you, and Matt is the best. I'm so excited to have him here. We're also going to get out the name of the winners to the contest. We have the ticket stock we did this past weekend. It was a huge success. It was a lot of fun. I'll talk to you more about that later. But we had two major contests, one for a dining certificate to Seasons 52, and the other one was for Mavs tickets. So we will announce those winners here a little bit later in the show. And finally, is the inventory in Dallas drying up? Well, we're going to talk about that in the Mortgage Matters segment, because I think we have a few realtors out there, a lot of realtors out there kind of getting a little nervous about what's going on in the market. Okay, Gabe. Mr. Abshire, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. And getting better, I think, so I'm good.
Okay, and good to see. How much weight are you down?
About 15 pounds.
15 pounds. So if you don't know, Gabe and I and some other friends of ours and couples and our wives even got on this, have been on the 21-day reset. So basically that's a program by this company, Beachbody. They actually have a lot of great products. I love Shakeology. I do their workout programs, all that good stuff. And Coach Jimmy represents them. He's a personal coach, and he has got us on this diet. And it is basically a total reset. You go from eating one piece of chicken the first day, then a piece of salmon the next day, a little bit of dairy the rest of the week, and then you're totally vegan. The meals are incredibly, I think, time-consuming to prepare. Wouldn't you say, Gabe?
It's not really time-consuming. I mean, it's just you've got to prep it. If you prep it right, then it's not any more difficult than.
So how many meals have you prepped personally?
How many meals have I prepped?
Uh-huh.
We try to prep our meals every day.
We?
Me and my lovely wife.
What would you say the percentage of prep? Where does that weight fall?
Well, it's an 80-20 deal.
Okay, there we go. So, wife and I, 60-40. She does 40. I do. No, I'm kidding, babe. She does 60% of it, maybe 70. But it is time consuming. So worth it. I was very surprised at how delicious the meals have been. I mean, roasted root medley with beetroots and all these other things.
Yeah, who knew beets good?
Man, it's so good.
Beets are awesome.
Yeah, and they're filling, and I'm down 8.5 pounds. You're down.
Slacker.
I just have less weight to lose, Tubby. I mean, Gabe.
Because you're shorter.
So you've down 15
Can we break
pounds.
this down by height, you know?
Yeah, I think per pound in height, I think I'm ahead of you. You know what I mean? As far as ratio, percentage of. Well, no, that would be like you weigh
7
twice
inches
as much
shorter
as me.
than me.
No,
yeah, okay, yeah, that's probably right.
Dang it, I walked into that. So look, if you feel healthier, I feel healthier. My wife, I've been sleeping better. My wife after the first 3 days, like, my skin really feels good. but I did fall off the wagon. We went to Valentine's Day dinner because we had that pre-planned. We always go with a couple. We knew we were going to have dinner. That was like on the 15th day, and ever since then, it's been absolutely that was a problem. That was a bad idea. So if you want to get on the reset, and you want to do that, I will encourage you to don't do a cheat meal because it'll just take the one.
Yeah, because it takes so long to change your habit. Then you get that little taste of something. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna have a bite of this, and then half a cookie turns into whatever. But it's best to go. We found that it was best to just have your blinders on and just stick by the book, and you know what you're having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's the kind of cool thing about it. It's like when you're not on a program like that, you've got to go, crap, what am I going to eat for breakfast? You might make a bad choice. What am I going to eat for lunch? And, you don't have it there. You don't have it planned. And all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock. And the only thing that's close by is a burger.
Yep.
You can make good choices there, but it's pretty tough to.
I'll tell you, I'm with you on that. One of the things Beth and I are keeping from this is making our lunches. I go out to eat so much at lunch, and that's where such a problem is. But now it's kind of fun because we make the lunch together. Good at the next day. It's easy, and I make sure I eat healthy. And the breakfasts are really good, so I'm happy that I'm keeping some of these recipes. We like some of them so much that we're going to keep them in the rotation. So even though we may not do that every day because it sometimes takes too long, and we like to eat out, but it helps with budgeting, and it helps with my waistline.
Yeah, and you just got you got good choices there. Like Veronica made some quinoa cups. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Quinoa, a little bit of cheese and turkey and broccoli. Done.
Boom. Done. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. It is not just about fitness
or recipes,
but about the local real estate market, about what's going on. So sequestration coming up, big topic. I don't know, Gabe, I didn't get to ask you if you've been able to follow that. I know you've been really slammed lately, but basically sequestration are the automatic tax hikes that are going to happen if Congress doesn't act. So you probably heard about it on the radio where now they're in TV, wherever. The Army has to make or the military is looking at 300,000 job cuts. There's all kinds of job cuts. Matt, have you been able to follow up with any of that?
Yeah, I follow quite a bit of it, and essentially what we're going to have is like automatic spending cuts and automatic tax increases. The spending cuts are going to be mainly in defense areas, or at least a lot of them, which is what's very troubling because we need to spend money on our troops. We need to make sure they have the best equipment available to them, and so that's one of the big concerns that's out there. I do think that they will come to an agreement on it because it is a bipartisan issue that people do feel like if we're going to have military, we need to definitely arm and equip them very well. I don't think anybody can create an argument that says we need to have lower quality body armor or anything like that. So,
and I think, because they were talking about having to take back some troops, not build these certain tanks, which I don't know if we need any more tanks right now. But the point I think the Democrats are trying to bluff the Republicans, and the Republicans are trying to bluff back, saying, well, put it back on the Democrats. They're playing a little game right now, but there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And I think the Republicans have done some things lately to try to make the Democrats look bad in posture, and now the Democrats are trying to bluff them here to make the Republicans look bad. It's just the way the political landscape is right now.
It's too much of the 24-hour news cycle. They've got to create content for us to turn on Fox News, CNN, or whatever every hour on the hour. So that's really the issue.
I totally agree with you, and it's just and that's hopefully what you don't hear on this show. And one of the reasons we talk about it because there are such the disconnected talking heads out there saying everything to fill time and space, and you just can't. Don't buy into all that stuff. I know it's hard because it's always on you're just getting fed it all the time. But this is we're just a polarized. Politics is very polarizing right now. It's tough to see this. I wish I talked about this last week that Obama would have said some things in that State of the Union address that would have really kept pressing the message of, guys, we need more bipartisanship. I know that nobody wants it right now, but it's still the job of the leader to continue to press that issue. So I think that's something that we still need to do. I'll tell you, as far as locally goes, I want to talk to you about some real estate matters that affect us right here in Dallas. So some interesting facts that are initially positive but are putting some pressure on the real estate market here because we had 4,733 homes sold in the month of January. Realtors sold 4,733 homes in North Dallas. That is the second best month in a decade and the best since 2007. And here's the deal. Rapid sales seems great. Buyers out there that have been sitting on the fence, we've been talking about this going to a seller's market. Well, now it is really into a seller's market. In fact, our inventory is down from 8 months to 3.5 months. And there's an economist here, Dr. James Gaines, and he's talking about how this 3.5 month cycle has him a little concerned because it's going to put strain on the market. And we've already seen this month, this year, we've seen a 9% increase over this time last year, and a total over 2012, 14% increase. So that means a $200,000 home costing $228,000, right?
Yeah, and a lot of it's people that are relocating to here as well, creating a lot of housing shortages. I know if you look into the far counties of Denton and Collin, the very northern part of the Metroplex, we're seeing a tremendous number of new home permits issued, things of that nature, just to hopefully be able to accommodate the population growth that they're expecting.
Yeah, I think Houston's the same. We have some vendors down there, and they've some of our home builders have doubled their slab count. So I mean, their building's back.
Right.
And they're definitely producing some houses. They've got to.
Yep, that's the one thing it's gonna be good for builders right now, like getting back in the game, because they're literally, and realtors are gonna be rushing to that like crazy, because you've got to. Right now, houses are going up. They're selling in less than a week. They're getting multiple bid offers. So,
well, and I do want to point out one thing. A lot of times people when
you're
they
not even officially on the show yet.
I know. I'm sorry.
You.
Whenever you do that, whenever you bring up something about builders, I always like to throw this out there because, builders don't want you to have somebody representing you a lot of the time, and so it's important that some of them are great with it, some of them aren't. But you still need to have somebody that's working with you as an agent, that's looking out for your interest. I see a lot of people that will buy directly from the builder because they think that the salesperson is representing them. The salesperson represents the builder. And so that's one of the things that you need to make sure you do is have your own representation.
That's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, Matt. So, yeah, remember this. The real estate agents, they're getting paid by the builder anyway, and that builder is not going to reduce the price if you don't use an agent. They are more than happy to pay agents. In fact, they get paid more on those homes. There is a great incentive because builders want that to happen, and you need representation, just like Matt said. So always talk to your agent before you go, because if you go there one time and you sign anything, talk to anyone, they're going to cut your agent out. So don't do that. It's a great way to do business to talk to your agent first. They deserve it. Good agents are well worth the money. I know our info, we think we're just like with WebMD, and now we got Zillow and Realtor.com. You think, I don't need anything. I got it all myself. You don't. We see mistakes all the time that cost people thousands of dollars and protection because they're not getting the contract set up right because they think they can do it on their own. So don't be that person. If you need a good realtor, call us 214-736-9696 or email me at questions@andytuttle.com, and I will get you in touch with a fantastic realtor. We're lucky enough to work with a lot of the top realtors in the Metroplex. Okay, FHA changes. Really quick before we go to break, because there are three main changes, and again, this is about you and whether or not when you're weighing a decision to buy or look into restructuring your financing, what you need to do. So FHA, which this is really upsetting to me because it's so much double talk. So at the State of the Union, Obama says we got to free up. We have all these people that want to get qualified. They're just outside of it. We need to loosen credit. On the other side, we are tightening up FHA. FHA is tightening up the restrictions. They're making it more expensive to get an FHA loan, which is the loan that's great for first-time homebuyers, great if you have dinged-up credit. You can have a recent bankruptcy. You can even have a recent foreclosure and still get into a home with FHA. And now they are, which is basically the government-insured loan. That is what allows you to get a home with only 3.5% down at basically the same rates you would get on a conventional loan. But they're changing some of those things. And at one hand, they're talking about loosening up credit for you guys, and on the other hand, they're saying, no, we're actually behind the scenes, we're tightening all this up, so you're not going to be able to do it. And it's not just Obama; it is the polarization. Everybody knows it's not like Obama doesn't say anything at a State of the Union address that it surprises anyone. Congress, no politician is surprised. It's passed through everything, so everybody knows what's going on there, and it's got to be handled. I'm just kind of sick of it because they're telling you all these things that that you want to hear, but on the back end of things, they're making it more difficult for you. So here are some of the changes that you need to be aware of. Says it needs to weigh into your decision to buy a home now or wait. So obviously one of those things is home prices are going up. They're on the rise. This is the time to get into a house now before we see that increase. So the second thing is, especially if you're a first-time home buyer or you have any dings, your credit is not perfect, this is something that you want to look at. Okay, the changes that are coming as of June of this year, that right now you have a mortgage insurance premium. That insures really the lender in case you default. On FHA, that after 5 years, you're eligible to have that come off. That on a $150,000 home is about $100 a month. So On a $150,000 home, the $100 a month, if you have over 22% equity in your property at the end of 5 years, you can currently, if you buy a home, you're able to remove that mortgage insurance. So in 5 years, you're eligible, if you've got equity in your property, to remove that $100 a month payment from your mortgage. Now, as of June, that's not going to happen anymore. You are going to have that mortgage insurance over the life of your loan, with very few exceptions that go to 11 years. So that's an extra $100, or in a $250,000 home, $150, $180 a month extra that you will have to pay, which is $2,000 a year. So over 10 years, $25,000 extra you will pay, but just waiting 6 months. So it's something that you need to consider. If you're on the fence, you want this to be perfect, you're not sure if your credit's right, let me tell you, the biggest reason people don't get started is because they're afraid about your credit. That's what you're afraid of. Don't be afraid. We don't just say no. We've got great credit experts. In fact, one of them is going to be on the show next week to talk to you about how great the results are that he gets for our clients. We will show you how to get your top score. Usually it's a few little things that you can do that can improve your credit score and help you buy a home. So do not be afraid of that. The second thing that you need to know is that the exception on 15-year loans, because a lot of people go, well, I'll just do a 15-year loan and put 10% down, and then you don't have to worry about that either. That is no longer the case either. So you're going to have mortgage insurance whether you do a 30-year loan or a 15-year loan. It's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Do not let it be you. This is a perfect time to buy. Rates are still low. The FHA changes have not taken effect, and houses prices are on the rise. So if you want to get off the fence or you want to look to see if this is something right for you, call us, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. And you can also, if you just don't want to talk to someone right now, not ready to talk, go to yourmortgagereview.com. Yourmortgagereview.com. Fill out a quick form. We will get you. We will look at it and do an analysis for you and send that to you and give you a free copy of your credit report along with a free consultation, so you know if you can buy or if you can refinance and save some money. You're listening to Tuttle Talk. My special guest today, estate planning expert. You've heard him informally on the show already, Matt Aycock of Pratt, Aycock Associates, PLLC. You may not know this, but only 1 in 20 households have your assets protected, so that in the event that both spouses die, right now, I think it's still 55% of your assets go to the government, depending on exclusions, and Matt will get into that. But are you protected? When we get back, Matt is going to tell you about one simple way to protect yourself and your family. So stay with us.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Having insurance and having the right amount of coverage are not necessarily the same thing. For example, water damage happens in a variety of ways and is one of the top reasons people file property claims in Texas. But did you know that some well-known companies will not even cover you if a drain backs up and overflows into the house? Just because you have a policy does not guarantee that you are truly protected. Be safe, check with your agent. If you'd like some help, call me. I'm John Allen with Texas Community Insurance, and you can reach me at 214-736-9696. Once again, that's John Allen at 214-736-9696.
Everyone is busy, not to mention the headache that comes with moving. And that's why Utility Concierge is here, to make the moving process easier, faster, and simpler. Utility Concierge will connect you with all the available options, from basic utilities to cable, phone, internet, home security, and everything in between. Don't waste hours on the phone talking to service providers when you can make one call to Utility Concierge, the one-stop shop for your move and your home needs. You make the selections, they make the connections. Call 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696 to get connected today.
As a business owner, are you getting all the tax advantages that are available to you? Are your assets protected from creditors as much as possible? What are you doing to save and invest your hard-earned income on a tax-favored basis? And finally, are you aware that you can legally discriminate in favor of yourself and other key employees with certain planning techniques? Hi, I'm Randy Nichols, partner at Spectrum Financial Group in Addison, Texas. If you answered no or you're unaware of the answer to any of these questions, call me at 214-736-9696. I can provide you with the answer to these and other important questions to help you improve your personal financial situation and take advantage of all the benefits that are available to you. Call me, Randy Nichols, at 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696.
Why do people prefer to do business with Fidelity National Title? Some people say for the high-level security we offer through our solid financial strength. Some say they trust our history of excellent service. But most say it's our passion for excellence that keeps our customers coming back. Put your trust in a company that stands the test of time and will be here tomorrow. To learn more about Fidelity National Title, visit fidelitydfw.com or call 877-862-9111.
Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can listen on your iHeartRadio app because I know you don't want to get out of your car. So much exciting information. Well, don't worry. You can get out of your car. Just put it on your phone or your tablet or whatever, and you can walk in it with the store, go grocery shopping with it. I know many of you do that because you tell me you do, which is hilarious. So I love that. Please go to iHeartRadio, and you can download our station there. You can also reach me if you want to talk to Matt, because we're going to talk about some really important estate planning issues here, and we're going to talk about, to some of you investors, how to set up to make sure your rent houses are protected correctly and your assets, your personal assets, are protected correctly. So if you want to talk to Matt during or after this show, call us 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696, and we will get you in touch with him. He is my special guest today. He is an estate planning attorney. He's also, my goodness, we'll talk about his law firm, but he is a partner in Pratt, Aycock Associates, PLLC. He has been in this business a long time, and he's got a big heart for making sure you and your family are protected, and he joins me here today. Matt, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Andy. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Formally, now you're actually invited to the show.
I'm actually officially on it now.
Yeah, that's right. Before, who's this Matt guy? We don't even know him. But now everyone knows you. So, yeah, thanks. Okay, I'll always like to give you a little history when it's your first time on the show.
Sure.
So before you got into really estate law, and I know you do business formation and you help with document preparation and all those things. You have many lawyers at your firm. But what did you do before this?
Well, the first thing that I did right out of undergrad was I was going to go into computer programming, and the beauty was at that time, the market was great, and then we had the burst of the bubble with the .com and everything collapsed, and all of a sudden there's no jobs in that industry. So I decided, hey, real estate looked like something that was pretty cool. I was catching it on an upswing, and then obviously whenever it went down, I went to work in the default servicing world, and that's when I met my partner Greg Pratt. We did a few things for some of the larger banks like Bank of America and, Fannie Mae and places like that. And then we decided to do our own thing about 3 years ago. And that's when we started Pratt and Aycock. So, we thoroughly enjoy this industry. It's one of those things, once you get into real estate, you do not get out of it. And I don't see me doing anything else but real estate, and the things that relate to it.
Right. So what all areas do you cover at your law firm?
We cover most anything except for violent crimes, of course. We have a lot of different attorneys that work at the firm that have their own areas that they like to focus on. As far as the areas that I focused on, myself, it's real estate, and then, of course, estate planning and business formation as it relates to real estate. And so it all, those three, typical things do go together very well. I'm what's known as a transactional attorney, not a litigation attorney. So we have litigation attorneys that do whatever, we do family law, we do foreclosures, we do foreclosure defense, pretty much anything you can think of that would get you in a courtroom, we do.
And you have a very unique program, too, from short sales that you help realtors out with, and it really helps the sellers, too. Can you talk just a little bit about that? Yeah,
we started that, right about the time whenever the banks began thinking, hey, a short sale is really a good thing for both us, the owner, and everybody in the middle. But because what it does is it keeps that property from becoming an asset, an REO asset on our books. And then, it was taking the lenders, 2 to 3 months before they could even get something they foreclosed on listed. It was generally in horrible condition at that point in time. And so it was just costing them a lot of money. And my partner Greg and I looked at that as an opportunity to help a lot of people not have a foreclosure on their record. And so what we started doing is negotiating the short sales as part of the transaction. we've got 6 dedicated negotiators that's all they do all day. They work with the lenders on a regular basis, and it's a cooperative thing. It's not an adversarial thing like most people would expect. And the lenders are usually very open to doing it. And the beauty of doing a short sale versus taking the foreclosure is you usually get, some walking money. So, $1,500, $3,000 is pretty common for you to get as a seller that you can use, and that's very helpful for a lot of them. The other big thing is you can qualify for a mortgage much sooner after a short sale than you can after a foreclosure, assuming all other credit issues are the same. I mean, I've seen somebody they had to do a short sale for a relocation, and they literally qualified for a mortgage on a new home after 6 months. So now everything,
big difference.
Yeah, it's huge. If it was a foreclosure, you're probably talking 2-3 years easy.
That's right. Wow. Minimum 2 years with FHA. With some other exceptions, usually it's 3 to have that happen. So it is a lot different. You've got to make sure those are things to take into account. And again, a little bit of that walking money is very helpful if you're in a tight situation versus a foreclosure. You're definitely not getting anything.
Nothing.
And it's going to crush your score worse.
Well, and some of them are even going after you for deficiencies on the foreclosures now.
Yeah, that's true. So you don't want any of that business. Okay. So talking about your estate planning and moving to that, is it true that only about 1 in 20 households have a will or trust or some kind of probate avoidance in their life?
Yeah, it's very, very low. It's a small percentage. Most people don't think about it being something they need to worry about when they're young and when they're just getting started out, just buying a house, just having kids. That's the most important time to do it. And so many people don't do it then. And it creates an extremely difficult situation on your family and your friends. If you die without a will, there are things that what we like to tell people is if you want to know what would happen if you died without a will, we'll be happy to tell you. And if you like that result, go for it. Don't have one. But most people are not happy with what the government will do with your estate and how they will distribute it to various people if you die without one.
So get into that because really I think you're right. I mean, first of all, if 95% of Americans don't have this super important, very inexpensive document, it's not in the subconscious. We're not teaching this stuff. Right. We're getting all this crud media, but this is important. It's critically important. What makes it so important? Is it really that important?
It is. One of the biggest things that we see that comes up very regularly is someone will die and they have a minor child. And for whatever reason, structurally in their family, some or all of their assets would be going directly to that minor child because they don't have a trust mechanism or anything set up for the minor. For that minor to be able to sell that property in order to pay for their living expenses, food, clothing, shelter, whatever, they actually have to not only go through guardianship court, which is extremely expensive and time-consuming, you have to hire 2 sets of attorneys in guardianship court, and so it just really sucks the value out of that estate, and that could have easily been avoided for a few $100, and it's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And so that's what most people encounter that's dangerous. Another one that's pretty common is where you have a child from an ex-spouse, and now that you're remarried, 100% of your community property, let's say you own a house with your current wife, 100% of your community property is split 50-50, okay? So your current wife gets to keep her half of the house. Your half of the house goes to all of your kids. Well, guess what? That kid from the prior marriage, guess who has the first right to be the guardian of that kid's estate? The ex-wife. And so do you really want to put your spouse in a situation, after you're dead and gone to where she has to get your ex-wife's permission to refinance the home or sell the home or do anything with the home?
Or your ex-husband, either way.
It works either way. It's just men generally die before women, so I always use that example.
Smarter women, you guys got it together. You girls got it together. So on that, that is fixed if you do a will?
Yeah, it's completely fixed. And, I mean, there's nothing to it. It's extremely simple, and, when people hear how cheap it is, they're shocked, and it does depend on how complex we're going to get. But usually, you're talking like $400 or $500 tops for a will. And, and there's places out there like ARAG and other prepaid services. If you get prepaid legal type work, it's free. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of the package deal. So
I can't believe that 95% of Americans don't have that. Guys, stop drinking your Starbucks for a month. Stop going out to lunch. You've got $400 to $500.
Yeah.
It's that easy. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. My special guest today, Matt Aycock, partner in Pratt, Aycock Associates, PLLC. This is a huge issue. Do not overlook this. We have had up to a point 70% divorce rate in Dallas. I think we're resting at the 50% divorce rate now. So I know a lot of you out there have this situation. So this is not something to ignore. This is not pressure. And guess what? If both of you die, now tell me if I'm right on this, Matt. If you don't have a will, the government decides which set of in-laws get
correct.
the kids too.
Yeah, and it may not even be the in-laws. There's a recommended path of who gets what, but yeah, I mean, it's decided by the court, and I don't know that you want that.
No, you definitely don't. So here's what you have offered, and I love this. There is the what if I die? What happens when I die analysis.
Correct.
Right? So we are going to provide this. If you call us at 214-736-9696, we are going to provide you a free
Correct.
what happens if I die analysis that is going to help you decide if I died right now, would I feel like I needed a will or not? Right, Matt?
Correct. And believe it or not, I've come across some individuals where it didn't matter. They really didn't need a will. It's rare, but if you have children, you absolutely need to have one. But, I've come across some individuals where they were single, never planned to get married, don't have any kids, and they're just like, yeah, it's fine if it goes to my parents or my brothers. I don't really care what happens to it.
And if you do have a will, but it's been over a few years, if any life thing has changed since the last time you reviewed it, you got to get it checked out, yes?
Absolutely. Yeah, death, divorce, marriage, all those things impact an existing will. So, yeah, you just want to have it reviewed, which, obviously that could be part of the what happens when I die conversation. So.
Okay. So thank you for providing that. We will get that out to you. If you call us, or you can email me at questions@andytuttle.com, questions@andytuttle.com. I will send it to you. It's free. There's no obligation, but you'll find out if you really need one or not. Please do this. Please look into this and consider it. It's so important for you and your family. It's a really big deal, and it's really so inexpensive. Please take advantage of this. Your kids, your family will really appreciate it if you do take the leadership in your home and do that, especially guys out there. You're the leader of that household. That's just how you got to take the lead and do this for your family. And if your husband won't, get it done. You're listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network, 1190 AM, KFXR. You know where to reach us, 214-736-9696, or become a fan of the show and get great updates like this. Get into the conversation about what's going on in our marketplace at facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. And, of course, you can catch the show if you missed it at andytuttle.com. Coming up, we're going to get with Matt again. He's going to tell us if your rental properties are really secured, and we're going to find out if Gabe's rental houses are actually properly protected. And you want to know if you won the contest, don't you? We had the Mass tickets giveaway, and we had the giveaway again for Seasons 52. So we're going to give away we're going to show you who the contest winners are, all right after this. So stay tuned.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
You'd get upset when your insurance company doesn't pay your claim. More often than not, the reason is because you didn't buy the coverage that you thought you had. Just because you have a policy does not mean that you have coverage for all of the things that may happen to your house or your car. Your education about proper insurance coverage does not have to be long and drawn out. Want some help? Call me. I'm John Allen with Texas Community Insurance, and you can reach me at 214-736-9696. Once again, that's John Allen at 214-736-9696.
Do you have an insurance strategy? When is the last time you had a policy checkup? Do these sound like odd questions to you? Well, they might if you are used to hearing insurance agents talk only about all the money they can save you on your insurance. Saving money is important, But with insurance, saving money on premium may cost you big dollars on claims. Why? Because not all policies are created equally. So, if you come across someone who does not have a clear insurance strategy, or you yourself don't, they probably need an insurance review or a policy checkup. And John Allen with Texas Community Insurance can help. He is trusted in the industry, and he has helped me and many of my clients over the years save tons of money and get properly insured. Call 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696, and we will personally introduce you to John Allen to get that review, get that checkup, and take care of your needs. You can also reach out on Facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. And we're back! Gabe, I know you love that.
Getting better and better in that, buddy.
Yeah, baby. I'm really getting excited, getting into it. You are listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. If you had this turned up in your car really loud, you just turned off this radio. Like, you jerk. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. This is a show about financial wellness, the local real estate market. You can reach us at 214-736-9696. You can also become a fan of the show, Facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. My special guest today is Matt Aycock. He is partner at Pratt, Aycock Associates. He's an estate planning expert, a real estate law expert, also an expert in business formations, anything that really comes under the covering of real estate and how it relates to it. Now, before the break, was setting up that most people, and I know this, aren't protected on their rental houses, because I deal with people, investors all the time, and they don't have proper protection. They either have zero protection or they just have bad entity structure. So, Matt, how do you see most of your investors come to you? How do they hold their rental properties, and what is the best way that you've seen to actually hold those rental properties?
Fortunately, most of them at least have some sort of an LLC set up already, but they not all of them. Some of them have it in their personal name, but at least they have the LLC. What a lot of them don't know, though, is that there's an even better vehicle than just the LLC, because they may have 20 rental properties in just one company, okay?
So just so you know, and I'm sure a lot of you heard this, that a lot of, because I hear a lot of real estate investor stuff, even Robert Kiyosaki and their Rich Dad Poor Dad company, which I've heard and I respect, they talk about holding individual LLCs and having a different one for each name, and it's just a nightmare of paperwork.
Correct.
But you're saying there's a better solution.
Correct. And that was the solution back in the day, up until I think 2005 is when we passed the law in Texas to be able to allow for a series LLC. It's only been about the last 2 years that we've been able to really come in and define what that means, how the IRS is going to treat it in certain instances, and that's been the big challenge over the last few years, is getting it to that point. Now, as far as Texas is concerned, there's 9 other states that also recognize it. It is very well developed, and the Texas model is what's being used everywhere. In a nutshell, it's the same thing as having the 15 different LLCs. The difference is that you don't have 15 different tax ID numbers. You don't have to do 15 different tax filings, 15 different bank accounts. You don't have to do any of that. What you have is you have your LLC, and then every time you acquire a new rental property, you issue a series. To issue a series, you complete a 2-page document. There's like 4 blanks on it. You sign it, and you put it with your corporate books. And then you put title to the property and the name of that series. Everything else is the same. If you're, most of my clients that are landlords, they're already tracking profit and loss and balance sheets by property anyway. If you're not, you should be, because otherwise you don't know whether it's profitable, profitable units. That's the only real requirement in Texas, for the most part, is that you have to be able to show profit and loss and balance sheets by unit.
Okay, which is still easier than doing an LLC individually each time.
Absolutely.
Now, how, and you're able to handle all that for investors, right? All in the same place, right? Everything in your firm.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done quite a few of these. I would say we probably do 4 or 5 a week is what we're seeing right now. And every investor that has 3 rental properties or more absolutely should do it every time, because the difference is, what people don't understand is if they have it all in one entity, just one LLC, if you have 15 properties in there and they're all paid off, and let's say somebody has a slip and fall type incident that's gonna sue you on, 34 Elm Street, okay? They sue you, they can go after all of the assets of the LLC, which includes all your other rental properties. But if you have each one of those rental properties held in a separate series, they can only go after that series. And so they can't attach to all your other assets. And so in your situation, Gabe, I mean, they can come after everything you got. So that's why we got to get you into something,
yes.
you know. But that's the real danger, is having nothing at all.
I need to ask that question just straight in there.
Really quick, if you want to get with, because I don't want you to miss this, guys and girls, if you want to get in touch with Matt to talk about this, about if you need a Series LLC or not, even if you have 2 properties but you want to grow to more, is a good idea too. Call us, 214-736-9696, or email me, questions@andytuttle.com. Give you a no-obligation call with Matt. He will talk to you about this. It's so important, and it's not super expensive either, is it?
No, it's not. It's cheaper than filing 2 LLCs.
Oh, my gosh. Guys, this is a no-brainer. Don't think about it. Just do it. Okay, Gabe, what's your question, buddy?
Well, how do I do it? So, I mean, my situation is we have three rental houses.
Right.
And they're all individually held in my name. So how does that work with the mortgage? Are you just assigning title over? So, I mean, if you're acquiring a house, you can't really get that house in the LLC's name, right? You have to get in the personal name and then transfer title? Is
correct. That's typically correct. And what most people don't realize is that the mortgage does have what's called a due on sale clause, but you don't have a duty to call up your mortgage lender and tell them, hey, for asset protection purposes, put this into an LLC that I own. You're not required to tell them that. If by some reason they find out and they're not okay with it, then you have a period of time in which you can cure the defect before they could ever accelerate the mortgage or foreclose. And that cure would just be to file a deed back in your individual name.
So did you hear that real quick? I have to cut in, Matt, because I know a lot of you, when you read, that's one of the reasons you don't do that. You're like, oh, I can't do that because then due on sale. Guys, that's a myth conception. That's what we're talking about, because you have a cure. There's a cure in there. They're not just going to go, well, too bad, buddy. Right, Matt? That's
correct. And Andy, more importantly, I've been in this industry for about 11 years. I've never seen it happen. It might, but I've never seen or heard of it ever happening to anybody. So as long as you're paying, it's not going to come up. But what you do is you first set up the Series LLC, which takes about 2 days. We have a questionnaire that you can just complete. It's very, very easy to understand and follow. We tell you how to manage it. We give you all the documents that you're going to need to manage it, so you don't have to come back to us constantly, to like pay more legal fees or anything. You can do it all yourself. And then what happens is you would just go ahead and you would transfer your properties, 1 deed per property, and just kind of put them all in your LLC. I mean, you said you had 3?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You could probably have that completely done in a week, to where you wouldn't have to worry about anything more. The only issue in your situation is you would have to have an additional tax filing, just for the LLC, of course, because it's gonna file taxes and then issue a K-1 to you that you're gonna put on your personal return.
And what's the fees? And I mean, how does that work? Is it a one-time deal to set up?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a one-time deal to set up. I charge $1,250 to do a Series LLC. That includes the $300 filing fee with the state. If it's a conversion, it's $1,100, because the fee with the state is only like $150. So
that is nothing for an LLC setup, by the way, guys. That's a very, very, very reasonable offer. So that's good stuff, Matt. Thank you.
Yes.
And I would need 3 of those, or just 1?
Just 1.
Just 1, and you just file a separate series per.
Correct. And,
got it.
And the series will take you literally 5 minutes to fill out the document. I mean, it's the greatest thing ever.
So
I love
just so I can get clarity on that too for Gabe. So if he did 3 separate LLCs, not only is it more paperwork, but it's going to cost him more to set those up.
Yeah. Well, the filing fees alone on 3 separate LLCs would be $900, and then he's going to have to pay some accountant to do at least a minimal tax filing for each one of them. So I mean, that's at least going to be $1,000 a piece every year, I would guess.
Sure.
And so I mean, it gets astronomical very quickly.
So even though because typically, they talk about piercing the veil, and whether that's in an S corp, any kind of entity protection that you have. So this is what's interesting to me, because typically with an LLC, they can't go after another LLC unless you're commingling or doing something like that. Then they can have reason to go after both. But in a series, you say you have 1 bank account. So even though you're sharing all those funds, they can't go after the other properties. How does that work?
They can go after the cash as to what amount of the cash is related to the balance sheet of the series that they're suing. So you do have to keep that in mind. But they are capped. They're limited to only being able to go after the assets of the series. So that's really, as long as you keep everything very separate from a bookkeeping standpoint, it's pretty easy to deal with. We use QuickBooks for ours, but I do real estate investing as well. So, for our properties, we use QuickBooks, and within QuickBooks, there's a feature called Class, and you just set up a class with that series name, which I always make the property name because it's easier to keep up with. And then whenever you book your rental income or your expenses or whatever, you just designate it to that class. And then it'll automatically track your P&L and your balance sheet for you. You don't have to worry about it.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. My special guest today, Matt Aycock. He's an estate planning expert. He's a real estate law expert. He's talking about series LLCs, how to protect your property correctly and all your properties, rental houses, and any really real estate that you have. And Gabe over here, who's owning a lot of properties, I think learning a few things. I'm learning a few things because I actually didn't know about the Series LLC until we've had a conversation a few months ago, because I've sent you some people that I think you're working with on that. But a lot of people that I've talked to, I'm going to do an S Corp or something because they don't know for real estate. So I've talked about this before, and I know you've heard me, but I want to give you some credibility. I want to get some credibility to myself for what I say. Matt, would you please tell my listeners, why is an LLC the correct way to hold real estate?
There's a lot of reasons. The big one for me is that with an LLC, you can have flexibility of how you move money in and out, a lot more flexibility there. If you have,
because it's a pass-through entity.
Correct. With the S Corp, everybody thinks there's an S Corp and a C Corp. Really, there's just a corporation, and whether it's an S or a C is how you're paying taxes. It doesn't have as much to do with how you manage the entity. If you're in a relationship with like multiple people owning an entity, it's easier with an LLC for you to have uneven equities and to be able to put more money in at different rates and whatnot, and to track that in a more informal way. Also, with a corporation, you have to have all your meetings and your minutes, and you just got to keep up with so much stuff. There's so much more formalities to them that most people don't do that. They just set it up, set the book down, and never ever pick it up again. And so they don't really have a corporation at that point.
Right.
Because they're not formal.
And so the LLC gives you also with real estate, isn't there some different ways that it allows you to write off what you're doing with the real estate? Doesn't it give you more flexibility there?
Yeah, from a tax standpoint, there are some pretty significant differences in the way that you can have retained earnings. In a corporate structure, you can do like retained earnings and different things of that, like that. But the big issue with the difference between the two is going to be how your passive income is classified. Not being a tax attorney or a CPA, I don't want to really go into that too much.
I'm going to bring a CPA on in a couple of weeks. Mike Dunlap's going to be here. We'll go into the tax implications of that.
Because it's a big difference, and you probably want to share that with your listeners for sure.
So come back, and I think it's 2 weeks. I'm going to have Mike Dunlap here to talk to you about really what's going on. It's tax season, so we're going to talk to you about some serious tips you need to take into account, but also we're going to discuss the real estate and your real estate. Gabe, did you have any more questions for Matt on this?
Not on the air. We're definitely going to talk off the air. I think
right?
It's, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Enough knowledge learned, but we'll definitely be getting this set up.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
And in rental property, I do want to stress to people that, if you're looking for a way to make an investment right now, rental property is a phenomenal investment. I personally do it. I try to do as many as I possibly can. It's 20% down, 80% leverage, and you're probably going to be paying like 4.5, somewhere around in there.
Low fours right now.
And
on the size of the property.
You really are going to have to try to not be able to cash flow right now on rental property with where rates are. And once they hit about 7% or so, assuming they ever go back up to that level anytime soon, that's when it starts becoming less attractive to get into a leveraged landlord position. But rental property is great. You're building wealth, and it's a wealth planning tool. The buy and hold strategy, it's a huge strategy.
Huge strategy. Matt, thank you so much. As being an expert contributor to the show now, we're going to have you back just about every week to keep giving estate planning tips. So I really appreciate you being generous enough to do that.
Hey, thanks so much, Andy. I appreciate you having me on the show.
You bet. Okay, guys, before I let you go here, I want you to remind you, the analysis that Matt has decided to provide that I'm going to give to you if you email me is the what would happen if I die analysis. So find out if you would be okay without a will right now. And you may be, but it's going to be rare. That is free. We'll give you that analysis if you email me at questions@andytuttle.com or call 736-9696. Also, if you're an investor, call those numbers, get your properties protected correctly. It's so much less expensive. The due on sale clause is a myth. It's true, but you have a chance to cure. It's not a disaster, and it never happens as long as you pay your payment. That's the thing you need to understand. Okay, guys, here are the winners. Contest. Drum roll, please. Thank you. Very good, Gabe. Very good, Gabe. I think we have actual sound effects we could do that with, but I love it. So, for the Mavs tickets from Ticket Stock this last weekend, Michael Stevens. Congratulations to Michael Stevens for winning the Mavs tickets, and congratulations to Austin James for winning the dining certificate to Seasons 52. We'll have more contests and great prizes coming up for you. Thank you, everyone who came out to Ticket Stock this last weekend. It was fantastic. Our loan originators, our mortgage coaches are having a great time. If you know of a loan originator that is looking for a better company to work for that really cares about the homeowner process and helping people make smarter decisions about that, or if you yourself are one or would like to look into that opportunity, we are hiring. We would love to have you on board. Great culture and people that have big hearts and have a really work hard at making sure to help homeowners. So come on board with us. We would love to talk to you about that. Guys, you're listening to Tuttle Talk. I hope you have enjoyed this last hour. If you want to get a hold of us, you know the number. Call me, 214-736-9696. And don't forget to go to yourmortgagereview.com. Yourmortgagereview.com. Fill out a quick form. Find out if you can save money by restructuring your financing, or find out where you sit as far as qualifying to purchase a home. We'll give you that free copy of your credit report with some tips on how to improve that as well. Speaking of credit tips, next week, got to tune in, guys. Justin Nichols, owner of another law firm, specializes in credit restoration. He can really make things happen for you. He is going to give you the 5 C's of credit, and we're going to talk about how you can, on your own, improve your credit to get to where you need to go, not just for buying a house, but cars, credit cards, anything else that you need. We will help you with that next week here at the same time. I'd like to thank Gabe. I'd like to thank Matt for being here. I'd also like to thank Danny Miles, our production director, and the entire family here at KFXR. That's it for today. Race Talk is coming up next. This is Andy Tuttle for the Real Estate Radio Network. Tune in next Saturday, and thank you for helping us make financial intelligence a priority in our community. Have a great weekend.